Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Halacha. We've had a little bit of a break, and I am so happy to be back. I've missed learning Sha'arim B'Tfilah with you. Every time I open this Sefer, every time I open this book, I'm struck with a new insight that immediately helps my tefillah, improves my tefillah. I'm hopeful that it does the same for you. I'd love to hear from you regarding that. We have been in the chapter of Rina, which is focused on the idea of song, some aspect of song. And now, Rabbi Pinkus does something really interesting, which actually harkens back to something we had done already, but now in the positive. I'll explain what I mean by this in a few minutes. Rabbi Pinkus notes that there are two types of song. One is called Shira, and the other is called Zimra. And he wants us to understand that these are not two words for the same thing, not at all. He notes that Shira is the type of song we use to tell a story with specific words, telling a specific story, the details of the story. And so, for example, the Shirat Hayam, the song that we sing that Bnei Yisrael sang when they crossed the sea, is very specific. The words there tell a story, and it's a song that tells a story. There's another type of song, which is called Zimra, which could be general words, a general praise of God, like Hallel, where we're not specifically focusing on an individual event, but general praise of God. Zimra could also be just instruments, and Zimra could also be what we call just a nigun, where we just sing tunes without words. And he says those are very different things. When we have the mind frame to be specific about what we are grateful for, then we have a shira. But when we don't have that mind frame, when we are just overwhelmed with joy, we may break out into a zimra, a nigun. We may break out into a tune without even realizing why. We're just sort of overwhelmed. We just break out in a tune. That's the difference between Shira and Zimra. And if you remember, we talked about this when we mentioned Sha'ava and Staka, two different ways, Tza'aka, two different ways we cry out to God. One way we cry out to God with words, and the other way we cry out to God is we're so overwhelmed, we're so sad, we're so pained that we can't even come up with the words to express ourselves, so we just cry out. So that is the negative expression of this. The positive expression of this is Shira and Zimra. And he notes really interestingly that one could lead to the other. We could understand exactly the position we're in, have the perfect words to express ourselves and use them. And then, since we're involved in praising God, then we get overwhelmed and then we break out into a wordless song because the telling of the story brought us to even, one could argue, a higher level of storytelling of singing where we're so overwhelmed with joy. On the other hand, we could break out into a wordless song. And then as we're in that mood, the details and why we're happy become more apparent to us, and we're able to express it in specific words. So Shira and Zimra, or Zimra and Shira, one could lead to the other. And this is a beautiful aspect of tefillah. This may not be the specific way we daven and pray when we're engaged in formal prayer, but certainly in informal prayer. This is a beautiful thing to think about. Can we take some time to choose the words carefully that we need to thank God? Not be generic, not be general, but be specific in terms of how we praise God. That's really important. It's important in human relationships. When we thank someone for something, we want to thank them with specific things that they've done. Instead of thanks for all you've done, thank you for X, Y, and Z. On the other hand, sometimes we're just overwhelmed, and we should let that feeling take over and allow ourselves just to sing out in joy. Tomorrow we'll continue discussing another aspect of this type of dual song, Shira and Zimra. Until then, I hope you have a joyous day and lots to sing about. Shalom.